Yeah,
That's what people do in court.
and they get off.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Unapologetically Black, Never Broken, Always Empowered. I am Brittany, joined by Rich and Dre, my co-hosts. How y'all feeling?
Gang.
Awesome. And we are being joined today by Cece and Wendell, who are the creators of HBCU Con. Super excited to talk to you guys about that and get into that. But before we get started, we always start with a mental health check-in. So I'm actually going to start with you, Cece. How are you feeling? How's your week been so far?
Wow, I didn't expect to get called out like this. I'm I'm doing all right. It's a lot of transition. Well, actually, it's the dust is kind of settling from a lot of transition, I should say, because we did the con, we did the Kickstarter because that was its own thing, and then the con, and then in that interim, I started a new job and had a lot going on with that training and big projects and stuff. So, but I'm good. I'm feeling pretty good. How about
Awesome.
yourself?
That's good. That's good.
I'm well. I guess since you kicked it back, uh,
Yes.
today we took the kids to the pool. We had a really chill, relaxing summer day, which was nice. I am getting ready to start a new job this week, so this was kind of my
Congratulations.
last little hurrah of being unemployed. Um,
I feel that.
so yes, thank you. So yeah,
Mhm.
it's been a good week so far. I can't complain.
Okay.
That's
Wendell, how are
good.
you feeling? How's your week been?
My week has been slow, and I say that for a reason because usually if I'm not making anything, my week is kind of slow. I get sleepy real quick. I get bored
Mhm.
real quick. You can only watch but so much TV.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
yeah, it's been really slow. I'm working on some stuff for some people, but they've been out of town. So tomorrow things will kick back up with the commissions and things like that, and then prepping for the con that we'll be at this weekend.
Mhm.
Okay,
Nice.
that's good.
Rich, how you feeling?
Oh,
How's the apartment search going?
that's terrible. Let's just throw that out there. And I got hit with a bombshell today. Like everyone at my dating store, they're leaving. Yeah, that's one of them. I have to rehire 5 new people for the entire store, from the manager on down. So
Wow.
that was a shocker. But I guess I'll figure out a way to get it done. Hopefully, there's a lot of people in Dayton that need a job because if you're in Dayton and you need a job, please email me your resume, and I'll definitely interview you to get that done. Other than that, uh, I
Do
know
you
this
think
all
it's because
sounds
you're
bad.
black?
No,
I'm sorry, I just
I
need
don't.
because you said
I
that was the
know.
reason why one of the other managers was
So
staying.
I believe in Columbus. That's the reason, right?
Okay.
But in Dayton, a lot of them are college kids. They go to either Cincinnati CU, which is Cincinnati University, or they go
Mm.
to any other college, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
college is starting to start back up. So a lot of them want to focus more on classes and whatnot.
Gotcha.
Understandable.
Just wondering.
And I know it all sounds like bad stuff because I can't find an apartment. Everyone's quitting. Like it's, but I'm relatively fine. I guess to have a problem like this, I guess is good. I don't know. I could be broke and homeless. And that could be a thing.
It definitely could be.
It could be. It's not going to be though. So
If I
How
know
you, Dre?
anything about Rich, I know
Oh
it
yeah,
won't be a
broke
thing.
and homeless will never be associated with Sir Richard McClellan. Never. I will be in jail before I become
Not Sir
homeless. I'm telling you
Richard.
that right now.
You next titles.
Dre.
I'm
Write the title.
just got done spending a little bit of family time with my mom. So, like I said last week, it's always important. And I got some good news about my little brother. He's taking his hygiene more seriously. If y'all got teenagers, y'all understand 13 to
Wow.
16.
I wasn't,
I
wow.
wasn't ready
Sorry.
for the good news.
I didn't mean to laugh. Holy shit. Okay.
If you raise
Wow.
as many kids as I did, that teenage gap, it's frustrating as hell to make them stay hygienic because they
Oh,
fight you on that mess.
I
I believe you
wasn't
should
ready for
warn us
that.
before you say something like that.
I'm like, oh,
Definitely warn us.
he got a job. He got accepted into school. I didn't know what
Yeah,
age brother was, so I'm like, okay,
yeah,
cool.
yeah,
He
man.
No,
I,
he took a
Nice.
shower today.
Yeah, he took a shower.
that's
That's
funny.
that is very funny. Well, speaking of little brothers and just college and HBCUs in general, like I said, Cece and Wendell are here. Um, they started or are starting. Is this the first year, guys?
Well, it depends on what you consider. It's our first live event was this
Okay.
year. We had our first virtual event last year, so 2021 was our first virtual event, and then we had a hybrid event
Mhm,
this year.
Okay.
Mhm.
Nice.
Yeah.
But yes, the creators of HBCU Con once again welcome you guys. I guess
mhm.
we can just kind of start off. You guys can just tell us a little bit about yourselves, what HBCU Con is.
Go ahead, Madam
And yeah.
President. Go ahead, Madam President.
All right. Well, of course, CC the Geek. I've been cosplaying since 2015. And it's funny enough, I don't even remember when I met. I think I met you at Dragon Con window or maybe Awesome. Um,
Um,
huh?
damn. You know what?
I'm like, because it's like all a blur now. Like I've
It
known
was
Window
Greater
pretty much
Philly.
almost as long as I've been cosplaying.
Yeah, it was either Greater Philly 2017 or KatsuCon 2017.
I feel like it was 2016 or 2017,
Yeah,
somewhere in that ballpark.
because I know we spent time talking 2017 at Greater Philly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And even then, well, before I had met, like since I had been going to conventions, I had conceptualized this idea of doing a con that kind of like celebrated HBCU culture. Like I didn't have a name for it at that point, or nor did I really grasp the full scope of it. Like I was still kind of doing the Greek geek thing, so I wanted to incorporate, D9 and other Black Greek letter organizations or Black fraternities and sororities in general into it. But then I was like, well, that seemed too niche, but I still wanted to like hone in on that a little bit, but I just didn't know where quite to go. And then right in that ballpark where I had met Wendell, um, I conceptualized HBCU Con, I want to say towards the end of 2017. And then I got my EIN on January 2nd, 2018. And it was pretty much just me at that point and a mentor of mine by the name of Warren, who helped me with the process of like getting my EIN. And then somewhere around, like I had the website built, I was doing panels, pop up events here and there. It was so funny because like I was like, I ain't had a con, for 2 years into end, but I had a bomb website. Like everybody's talking about the website was like one of the best con websites they'd ever seen. So I was like, well, at least I got that and the panels and stuff. And then 2019, was it 2019 you joined the team?
2019. Yeah,
So
because that's when
2019.
you asked that question.
Yep. So for a long time, well, I won't say I would say for about a year and a half to 2 years,
Mhm.
Warren was kind of like a placeholder as vice president because I needed a vice president to file articles of incorporation. So I was like, all right, Warren, I know that this ain't really your bag, but can you like just can you just be here until I find the one? And then Wendell just showed up and kind of like showed out. He was always there, like when I needed him, whether it was tabling for stuff or helping me like delegate tasks to people. Because I already had like a team of folks. We were just kind of like all over the place a little bit, quite frankly. Like I was just trying to figure it out. Like I've never run my own business before. This is all new to me. Um, I've done work in nonprofit and things like that, but so Wendell came through, showed up and showed out, and it just kind of hit me like something just told me that Wendell was the person. He never asked for it, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I don't even think he knew that it was like a thing that I needed. So I like was with you and Tyra, and we were doing a
Mhm.
campus site visit. And Tyra was already like doing a lot of stuff with social media. She's one of my mentees who went to Bowie State. And she actually had coordinated their own convention called Hbcu Con. Like the students had their own little mini con at Bowie State back in 2019, and they asked me to be on the panel. So she was in the group, and I asked her to do social media, and then I asked Wendell to be vice president. And he's pretty much been at my side ever since.
Yep.
And 2020, we were actually going to have our inaugural event on April 4th, but then everything
the
just
panorama,
Life.
the panini.
So that was kind of what happened. Then we had to pivot. So it's like, all right, now we're doing virtual. So but Wendell's just kind of been with me every step of the way since he's joined the team. And we have a really great team of folks too. I'm really, really proud of the team. Like everyone from people like I went to school with, like in college, or to folks who like we just met at the con. Like,
Literally
they showed up and volunteered because they saw us setting up, and they were students. Like, what are you doing? So it's really, really cool. But Wendell, please, without further ado, I know I've been rambling.
Oh, see, stop. Now, this is the facts about how I got started. Like January of 2019, CC put this question out on Facebook. She was like, "If you've attended an HBCU, reach out to me." It's like, well, yeah, I went to Coppin State and I went to Howard. So, I went to Coppin, I went to Howard. We've already talked a little bit. So, what's up? And then she told me about HBCU Con. I was like, okay, I'm in. Before she even finished, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm in. And then we just been running strong since then. But my biggest promise to her, even from the jump, was that this is your vision, so I'm gonna make sure it happens. And that was even before she said she asked me to be vice president. I was like, this is your vision, and it's a sound one, so I'm gonna make sure it happens. And that's exactly what we've been doing.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
that sounds good. CC, you might have touched on it a little bit, but what inspired HBCU Con? Like why HBCU Con? Why that?
Okay, well, first of all, I think that I wanted to find a way to pay homage to the Black nerd community, not just the Black nerd community, but also Black institutions as a whole. Because I feel like a lot of we have cons that celebrate like the Black nerd community or the blurred community, if you will. But we didn't really have any that like that explicitly celebrated Black nerds and Black institutions. And I grew up in a world where the two were never mutually exclusive. In fact, they were very much intertwined. My parents went to HBCUs. My dad went to Bowie. My mom went to UDC. My stepmother went to Grambling and got her master's at Virginia State. My aunt, my father's sister, went to Bowie State and was Miss Bowie State University and also pledged Delta at Bowie State. So like it was always something that was really like deep rooted in my family. And my mom's a Star Trek fan. She named me after Star Trek. My dad's like into Star Wars, and my mom was always really big into like sci-fi. Even to this day, she's into Game of Thrones, like all that stuff. She's really, watched X-Files growing up and everything. Everything from X-Files to like New York Undercover, all that. So Law and Order, But yeah, that was just kind of like my life. My life was nerdy and Black as hell. And I just wanted to kind of take that experience. And I feel like my HBCU experience really personified all of those things. Not only that, but just how I matriculated through the cosplay community, finding people who attended HBCUs or were part of these organizations, most of which were founded at HBCUs. Like I didn't even know Wendell went to Coppin until I put the message out. And I was like, oh, shit. I was like, oh, you went to Coppin? Oh, okay. So that's when it was like a light bulb. I was like, okay. But yeah, that was kind of like the vibe I was on. And like I said, I had started with the Greeks and Geek thing. And then I juggled around with names. Oddly enough, I almost named it Yard Con and then watched the Yard. That's the name of their con. So I was like, oh, that's what's up. I was like, they're going to confuse me with Watch the Yard. That's why I didn't do that. But then it just hit me. I was like, HBCU Con, okay. And when I started juggling the name around with folks, like people I trusted, and like, what do you think about this idea? And people really liked it, So yeah. that's pretty much it.
So I have a question for both of you. As well, I went to Howard,
Mm-hmm.
and Rich and Dre have not had an HBCU experience. So
Okay.
when you say what is the HBCU experience that you're trying to harness into the con, what would you say that experience is to you?
I'll go and Wendell, you pick up where I left
Yeah.
off. Sure.
Pretty. Go ahead.
Because that was something I wanted to touch on when I thought about it, and then you asked the question, so I'm like, great, she's going right into what I was going to say. But essentially, what we wanted to provide was on one end for folks like us, it's that nostalgia of like, yo, this is what life was like when I was on the yard, blah blah blah. But then for the folks who didn't have that experience, it's like this is your own experience, personalized just for you. So like, consider it your own like campus or HBCU experience in that sense, and giving you a taste of it, but through a geek lens. So that is the really dope part about it, and it gives a opportunity for folks, one, who went to different HBCUs to kind of like mingle and talk to each other, which doesn't happen as much as you think it would.
It doesn't.
And then also folks who went to like PWIs or who maybe even didn't go to college. They went to the military or went to trade school, whatever the case may be, to mingle and like connect, and network, creatives of all backgrounds and such, and to really just celebrate all that these institutions like have to offer for folks, because it's not just about like the I guess like this academia of it, like a lot of these places did provide those other programs. So really cool.
Right. And to piggyback off of that, pretty much it's literally all about the experience, because PWIs are predominantly white institutions, and HBCUs they do things not too much differently, but they do things differently. I had the fortune of actually taking a couple of classes on University of Maryland's campus when I was doing my undergrad degree at Coppin, and the way I learned French at Coppin was a whole lot different than the way I learned French and at UMC University of Maryland. And then my history classes were the same way, which ironically, the professor I had at University of Maryland, I ended up having again at Howard as a grad student. She passed me the first time, didn't pass me the second time, but that's a whole nother story. Yeah, but she's still a sweetheart. She's still a friend, so I'm like, hey, it's whatever. But pretty much, the reason why I say it like that is because and the reason why HBCUs and HBCU Con in this respect are a little bit different than other cons is we're actually bringing that home feel, the HBCU feel to the con itself.
That
And
homecoming feel.
Yeah,
That's
that true homecoming feel.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna bring up two instances. I actually literally just talked about them with someone not even an hour and a half ago. But there were two instances that we had at this year's con where we knew we were doing the right thing. There was an older gentleman that popped up Friday while we were setting up, and he was like, I was on the campus doing business with my son, earlier this week. I saw the flyers and everything posted up. So I said, I told him, let's stick around and see what this is about. But my man was in his 70s, and he was like, I don't trust the internet with my credit card. So I was like, sir, you know what? I'll help you out with that. And the site that we're using is actually pretty secure. And he willingly, boom. And we sat there, we chopped it up. Him and his son came back for the weekend, enjoyed themselves.
That's good.
That's awesome.
During the con, and we weren't told about this until late Sunday, as we were shutting everything down. During one of the panels, one of the panelists was like, hey, this one lady got up and literally walked out the panel room, and we went and checked on her because it was an older woman. One of the guys went and followed her out, just to make sure she was good to go. And while they were outside talking, she was like, I literally just had to take a step out because I was overcome with emotion. I was overwhelmed with emotion because this is one of the things that
Mm-hmm.
this is the type of event that we've needed in the community for so long. When I heard that, I was like, okay, yeah, we're doing this right. We're bringing that true HBCU experience or that feel to people who either attended or didn't attend. And what made it even better for me, a friend of mine, I've known her daughter since they were 3 and 4. They're 17 and 15 now.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
They said, we want to come back. We loved that. We loved everything that we saw. We loved everything that we did. And they were only there for a few hours. And I'm like, you know what? Okay, cool. Boom. Yeah. Yeah.
So, what can somebody like me who's never been to a HBCU? I went to the Marine Corps 10 years and then came back and
Why?
You
then
talking to the
went.
right one.
Okay, when did you go in? Because I know you're a lot younger than I am.
2009. So I served from 2009 to 2019.
Okay. So you said you did about the same amount of time that I did.
Uh,
I went in January '90. Got out November '98.
okay.
Right before they decided to go ahead and
Yeah,
stop typing my name for staff
right.
sergeant.
Yeah, right by Desert Storm, and then went right on through.
Mm.
Okay, but so for somebody like me, what can I expect at HBCU Con? Like when I go there, what can I expect to happen?
You can expect the con experience, the normal con experience, with some added extra. And the added extra will actually bring you in line with what our message is trying to, what the message that we're trying to bring to the community. That these schools are here for you for a reason, and it's not just there's the party element to it, but
Mm-hmm.
that especially because of the fact we're holding HBCU Con on college campuses, there's also everything that's around you. This is
Mm-hmm.
this is what the HBCU life is. This is what these are the dorms right up the right up the promenade from where we're holding this thing. This is where we hold Yard Fest. This is where they do a lot of their yard activities.
Mm-hmm.
The band is practicing right up the way at the stadium, and you can hear them from where we are. And then they're actually in the same building. So when they're done with their practice and they're marching back, they will be marching right through the con.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't tell anybody that though.
Mm,
We just let them
okay.
experience it on their own, and they were like, oh, well, all right. and they were a little upset when they stopped, but
Mm-hmm.
they had been out there in that heat all day. But
Mm,
So there, to
go
your
ahead.
point though, there are several elements um that kind of like make up the convention itself, that kind of embodies, like you said, Wendell, not just the traditional convention experience, but also like your quintessential homecoming experience, right? So you have the classroom, which is pretty much like your panels and workshops, all that stuff that like you would sit through, and it's entertainment, but it's kind of like education, guys. This entertainment, if
Mhm.
you will. And then you have the suite aspect of it, which actually is inspired by the experience that I had at Bowie State when I was living in Alex Haley Hall for my first 2 years. One floor beneath mine in the Suite 200 was pretty much where all my friends and I hung out. Like my homie Marcus, whose house I just left because I had to do laundry because we're renovating right now and I can't use my washer. Um, and he's our financial secretary. Him and David Hooker, who is part of our funding development, he's our director of funding development and actually works for Disney as well. They pretty much like indoctrinated me to this suite that they had, and it was like you go in and there's monitors all across the walls, and every something's different on, like one's showing anime, one's playing video games, they're playing like Call of Duty or something, or Destiny, because that's the freshest thing in my head, even though I don't know if that was necessarily what it was. Another group will be playing like Dance Revolution or Guitar
mm,
Hero or something like that, something more hands on. And then it was just like kind of our space where anything goes. Like we could be nerds, we could talk politics, we could talk about our problems at home, or relationship problems. There were moments where I literally broke down and cried in that room, and like my friends were just, around me. So that space became like really sacred to us. So that was truly what inspired the HBCU Con story, quite frankly. And I wanted to capture that in the suite element. So that includes aspects like gaming, and tabletop, and video games, and then like cosplay, all the quintessential like
Right.
geek elements, because
Along,
like we were black as hell, but we were also geeky as
right.
hell.
Along with some of the signature panels that we do.
Right, 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 right.
Incorporate
So it
that
ties
as
into
well.
like the classroom. Of
Right.
course, there's overlap with this stuff.
Right.
hmm And then the hub, so that's like the food and all that social aspects. And then the yard actually really is the third biggest component. So that's like the stuff that you see. The yard pretty much captures all the things that are most visible and prominent in terms of HBCU culture. So like Greek culture, the step shows, the fashion shows, and just fashion in general. Um, Trying to think of what are the sports aspect of
Mhm.
it. The band definitely is a huge element. Like that's probably what people think of most when you think of an HBCU. You think of the band.
Yeah.
Hence why the drum major is our mascot.
Right.
But yeah, so that's pretty much what it is.
Question.
Mhm.
There's always been a bunch of negative stigmas behind sororities and fraternities.
hmm
About HBCU contracts to shed a little bit of light on that.
I think that that's really important. And I think it's important to also note that, like, no organization is infallible because it's made up of people, especially when you talk about like individual chapters and things like that. Like, we all have, like, and just people in general, like, it's something that needs to be addressed, and it doesn't make excuses for that either. I think that there are certain cultures and aspects that like were tradition, but not necessarily like what traditions are worth holding on to versus
Right.
not holding on to. You know what I mean?
Right.
But also recognizing and acknowledging the contributions that these organizations have made and their members have made
Mhm.
over like some of the greatest icons. Like, think of the ones in my own sorority: Dorothy Height, Nikki Giovanni, you know what I'm saying, Aretha Franklin. And many of these people like pledged, like, Dorothy Height wasn't no honorary, so
Mhm.
it's real. But at the same time, it's just like the NAACP or any other organization.
Mhm.
Like, they've all done great things, and there may have been things that they have done or practices that they had that were like, that may not be the best thing going forward, So I think you put it into that context. Same with HBCUs, um, like no organization is infallible. To put it blankly, there's colorism, especially when you talk about Howard, and its history and origins, elitism, and all those different elements that, pretty much are overlays of white supremacy that have infiltrated the Black community because of the transatlantic slave trade. So, like, to put it blankly, you know, but at the same time, like, half the Greek alphabet is from Egypt, like, so it's like a cycle, if you will. So that's always my, pushback on, for like, well, it's a Greek organ. Well, half
Right.
the Greek alphabet is Egyptian, so, you know, there.
Yeah, I've always read stories or heard stories of people that either renounce, their fraternity or whatever due
Mhm.
to the issues that they faced while pledging.
Mhm.
So like, they talk
Mhm.
about being hazed, being beat.
Mhm.
I've never been a fan of branding. Like you sticking a hot
Mhm.
piece of metal on me ain't gonna happen.
Mhm.
But if you want me to get it tatted, I'll do that. But
Mhm. I've
so
never known anyone to get who, like, they mandated it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Everyone I know who got a brand, they opted for
They
it.
opted for it.
mm,
Yep.
Now, all the other stuff, I can't speak on that, but I don't condone it, of course. I don't think that there's any um, there's just like, what's the point? You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like, what are you teaching somebody at that point? Especially as someone who's like already trying to be humble to you. You know what I mean? So,
Yep.
but that's pretty much what I got to say on that
Right.
without
And
being too
Yeah.
but
script.
but there, but there's one piece of it I can go ahead and add because one, I'm married to a Greek. I'm married to a Zeta. She's actually at
Hmm.
her boule right now.
Hmm.
And then many of my friends are Greeks as well. And actually a good bunch of them are down in Charlotte right now. But getting
Oh yeah.
not to get off track too much. It's also about relationships, really, because outside of the things that folks who are in the D9 or have been in D9 throughout history that
Hmm.
they've done, their relationships that just like you and I being in the Marine Corps, if we were to see each other in the street and not know each other, we see that we see that sticker on the back of the vehicle, or we see a
Mhm.
we see a, one of us is wearing a piece of clothing that has USMC on it. We're going to say, "How you doing, brother?" Or a simple
Hmm.
file like I did when you said that you were in the Marine Corps. And I actually had that happen to me outside of a doggone Home Depot. This older white gentleman came up to me, Simple Five, gripped me up, hugged me, and then went about his business. And I'm
Right.
like, that's the same brotherhood I've seen, and sisterhood for that matter, that I've seen in the sororities and fraternities.
Yeah, I definitely feel like I feel like I can relate a lot to folks who were in the military just because of that process. It definitely like shapes you in a way where it does it change. Being a
Yeah.
Delta has changed me in of itself, not just like the intake
Mhm.
process for myself, but like being a Delta, that was really what's changed. Like the where the real change came in was actually like doing the work of the organization. That's what people, that's like the big thing in Greek organizations. They're like, the real work is after you pledge.
Hmm.
That's really
Mhm.
when the real
Yeah.
work, the real pledging is after you cross. That's what they say.
Yeah.
So,
And life is a
so,
pledge, quite
so what
frankly.
about those that I don't want to say buy their way in, but they don't they come after they graduate. So after they have their bachelor's, what is it called again? I
They
think it's
go talking
Graduate,
about
I
the
mean, you have
graduate
yeah,
grad
process.
yeah,
chapters,
yeah,
or
Yeah.
you
like a
have
grad chapter.
alumni or alumni for the sororities. And
Right.
sometimes it varies. Like I know people who tried multiple times, and for whatever reason, they just didn't take them. Or I know people who just didn't have it when they were in undergrad, and
Right.
now that they're working adults, they have the means to like pay, because it's a hefty. My aunt is a Delta, so I had her back to like kind of talk my parents where they could put their money together and pay for it. But like if I didn't have my aunt, and her like willingness to help pitch in to do that, then my parents may not have supported me, or even, and I'm fortunate
Mhm.
to have parents who even can do that. So,
Right.
Right.
and it's a business, it's like, it's unfortunate, but these organizations, we have to sustain ourselves. Like we got a legal team, we got a full-time staff. I was
Mhm.
working at headquarters for the Delta Foundation. And it's mostly black, like 99% black women up in there. I love it. Um, but yeah, like they're real legit businesses, and they're
Hmm.
doing like real work. Like the Delta Research and Education Foundation is legit the oldest organization in the United States that focuses explicitly on research and education for Black women and girls. So, like, it's definitely, like I said, it's just like the military, just like sports. Like, none of these organizations are infallible, and they may or may not have had practices that are toxic or, not favorable to, especially to Black people. But they've also done good things. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, I actually would love to do grad chapter. I worked full time throughout undergrad. I literally had no time. I
Yeah.
didn't know
Yeah.
you if we didn't have class together,
Yeah.
in general. But I that's something I wanted to do. My mom and my grandmother were both AKAs, and
Oh.
my mom passed in 2020. So I feel like
Oh.
that's something that like keeping her, her spirit alive,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
doing
yeah.
grad chapter is something that's been on my mind
It's
heavy
do-
since then
it's
in
doable.
general, but since then for sure.
Yeah,
It's
for
yeah, it's
sure.
definitely doable because my wife actually she started at Howard went back home to Philly and finished up school at Temple, and she didn't actually do intake with Zeta until after she graduated
Okay.
Right.
in '98.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like I would never down my collegiate experience. It's an
Mhm.
experience that I will never. I loved being a Delta on campus. Like it was lit, especially HBCU
Right.
campus. Like you're practically
Absolutely.
a celebrity. Like I didn't
Right.
even ask for it, but like, and I was first vice president, so I was like thrust into like
hmm
being a speaker, a spokesperson for the chapter. But at the same time, like when I have sorors who I know like went through grad chapter, and I love them just as much as I do the
hmm
sorors who went through undergrad. It's
Mhm.
really about the work that you put in,
Yep.
and being
Yeah.
sisterly. Like, are you a good person? Like, are you a good woman, first of all? Like, are you a
Right.
good person? And then like what's the work that you're putting in for the organization? Because we are like a 501c3 nonprofit that focuses on uplifting Black women and Black people, in
Mhm.
general. So, that's what it's really all about. Like all that other stuff, that stuff doesn't matter. And
Right.
anybody who tells you that it or harps on it or, fixates on that, it's like that's all that they have. Like Delta's all you got. And that's not the reason why, that's not what makes somebody a good Delta. You know
Right.
what I mean?
But I think a lot of the time what happens is folks get caught up on the school days part of the process, and
Mhm.
they don't really get to see what the fraternities and sororities do after the school days
Yeah. It's just like
Mhm.
being, if
part. Yeah.
somebody's like a Marine and all they do is talk about being a Marine, but then they don't do nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't do
No,
nothing with themselves
it's not
outside of that.
it's
Like,
more than that. It's more than that. But the
hmm
ones are being okay. That's just like the two of us in here talking about boot camp and never talking
Yeah.
about any of the work that we actually did.
Any
And
of the work that you did after boot
right,
camp.
right,
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 Yeah.
and
right.
and 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 that's what people don't realize, because like for me, I sat on two different presidential campaigns, and I should say inaugurations. I
hmm
said I worked through two different presidential inaugurations. That's not in my, well, I take that back. That is in my Marine Corps record, but that's not something that people see every day.
Right.
hmm
I've worked 7 of the 9 uh, Marine Corps marathons that happened while I was in. Nobody knows about that.
hmm
Right.
I met Oprah Winfrey as a
Me
result,
too. That's crazy.
and
I've
nobody
never
knows
And a
met
about
Oprah.
separate thing.
right. Nobody knows. But see, if
Never
you
met
see
Oprah.
what people get caught up on is you went to boot camp, and all they know about Marine Corps boot camp,
Is that it's the worst. That's
not
all they
even
know.
that. I'm talking about this strictly movie.
Oh
Right. That's
yeah.
all
Oh
we know.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
All,
jarhead, you know
all
what
they
I'm
know,
Yeah.
saying?
all they
Right.
know is,
Yeah.
and it's like, but yo, that's only 3 months. That's 12 weeks, well, 13 weeks.
Right.
Yep.
We actually do other stuff, once we
Yeah.
get past that phase. And for most of us, we're not going straight from boot camp to war. We're going
Right.
from boot camp to a school and then to a regular desk job, or in the case of our grunts, to the field. But they still going from boot camp to school to a desk job, and then they go to the field, because you're still learning
Mm-hmm.
as you're progressing, regardless
Yeah.
of
Right.
what job you have.
And then we got our stereotypes, like all the Greek organizations got stereotypes, just like the military
Right.
branches got stereotypes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
So,
Yeah.
and it winds up becoming jokes amongst ourselves.
right amongst right,
Right. But the
Yeah.
wrong person step up in the middle of
right.
that.
Somebody from
Kind
the
of,
outside, you don't
yeah.
talk about them. I talk about them, not you.
Right. Yeah. You don't.
It's a family.
Pretty
Yeah.
much. Yeah. The only
I
ones that get
get.
up beat up on by everybody is the Coast Guard, though.
Right. And then you have people who are both, like my homie Venture Bros, he's a Kappa and Air Force. So he'll like argue with the
Right.
Air Force people. I mean, he'll
Right.
argue with the Marines about Air Force stuff, and then he'll
Uh-huh.
go and argue with the Sigmas about being a noob. You know what I'm saying? So,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
like, choose your battle.
Coast Guard and National Guard.
That's
Exactly.
hilarious. So
Right.
Jamal had asked in the comments just about some of the
Oh, I
things
forgot
that
about that.
happened. He had
Yeah.
said, "Will there be any celebrities or special guests?"
Yeah.
Special guests, yes.
Okay.
Celebrities. Yes.
We're looking into it.
Because we're still a very, very new con, so it takes money to bring folks in.
Absolutely.
So as we get the money, we will bring folks in.
We have friends.
Those
We
are-
Yes,
just,
we do have friends.
we
Oh,
gotta have it
definitely.
flued out.
We had almost 30 vendors in the small space that we actually had
Nice.
this year.
Okay.
And then
That's
his
still
other
that's still
question
a pretty good
was
sized con. That's
absolutely.
that many vendors and then that
Yeah,
many guests.
we had about 30 vendors in this year's con. Um
Yeah. What you
once
saying, Brittany? Sorry.
Well,
yeah,
no, it's fine. The vendor, he can keep talking about the vendors. I do have a question about the vendors. What type of vendors do you have? Is it just kind of like the same kind, like artwork and comics, or do you have anything different because it's an
let's see.
HBCU?
We had artwork, we had comics, we had um vendors who did soaps and scents. We
Hmm.
had vendors who actually did clothing. We
Okay.
actually we had bad waifu. I
We
mean,
did.
Oh, she was at BlurCon.
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
She was at HBCU Con, and she was also one of our fashion show designers.
Yeah, we had a good. Yeah, she was in our fashion show.
Yeah.
We had a really good mix of
So
folks
yeah,
who were, of course, Black creators, but who
right.
went to HBCUs, like HBCU grads and non-HBCU grads. We had some folks who were selling like HBCU-esque apparel.
Mhm.
And I really want to actually do a call to action since I'm on this podcast. I want more Greek vendors. I
Okay.
want more. I want more HBCU vendors, like licensed HBCU vendors.
Yep.
So just come on through. But like you
Definitely.
said, it's like it's really cool because we're kind of like catering to not just the college kids, but also young professionals. Like a bulk of our market are professionals between the ages of like I think it was 30 or 35 and
35,
in that somewhere in that
45.
ballpark and
Yeah.
45.
Yeah, because
So
we
a lot of
started
these
out.
people are like really nostalgic about the experience and anything that we can do to like create that like almost black farmers market experience, if you will,
Yeah.
but like with the geek twist. That's
Hmm.
kind of what I'm going for. So because I was like, yo, it's funny because MagFest and my Founders Day are like right around the same time.
Hmm.
And I would go to MagFest and kind of go crazy there because it's right after New Year's. And then when we would have our Founders Day celebration, I would go crazy again because I'd be buying a bunch of Delta stuff. And people would tell me that I need to choose a struggle. So I just feel like it would be cool to be
Put
able
it
to buy all
together.
that stuff in one
Right.
place and then I can budget properly.
True.
I like that.
Yeah. So we
Uh,
definitely had a lot of that. And I
Yeah.
think the fashion show too, to your point, Wendell, was another element that made us
Yes,
very
indeed.
unique. Because that's
Yes,
something
indeed.
that's very unique to the HBCU homecoming experience. Like
absolutely.
they are
Okay.
known for, just on the regular basis, like when you go to an HBCU campus, like
Hmm.
it legit looks
This is,
like
yeah.
a
Yeah.
fashion
This is
show.
Yeah,
fashion.
you don't see the
Yeah.
students
Do
in
you
like
guys
pajamas.
do you guys host a homecoming party where you pick a homecoming king and queen just at the con?
That
Not
actually is
yet.
something that we're looking
Yeah.
towards doing. It's
Year
just that it
Okay.
will be like a
year
huge
one we didn't do it, but that's something that
Okay.
it's a
likely
huge
going to happen.
production. Yeah, we want
Yeah.
it to be like
Okay.
almost
Because
like with the cosplay contest, if you
right.
will. You know what I'm saying?
Just give
Like
me a
that's a
shout out
huge
when y'all do it.
production. Hmm?
Y'all just give me a
That,
shout out when y'all do it. That's all.
hey,
For
Oh
asking
yeah,
the
no, it's already
question.
on our radar.
we'll
It's
make
already on the
we'll
radar.
make
Not
that
only
happen.
that, but I'm also trying to we are also trying to think of a title for like someone who's non-binary who would want to run for a royal court. So that's kind of like where I'm at with it in terms of the
Right.
concept and everything. Because that's a
Right.
big thing in HBCUs is like when we talk about it at my, when I'm in community with folks and even when I'm at work, is like, hey, you know, breaking down the gender binary and like, what do you within the HBC community? And like, what do you mean? Like Mr. and Miss so and so. So I'm like, okay, that's something that I want to break down, but
Right.
also celebrate at the same time.
Right. Because it's important, especially nowadays. Because I know when I attended, well, no, I still went to school late 97, 97, 98. But
Mm-hmm.
even then, it wasn't as the use of pronouns wasn't as pronounced as it is now,
Mm-hmm.
as it is almost 25 years later.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, So, as far as the demographic goes, this is a family-friendly event, more kind of high school to older. What's your target demographic with HBCU Con?
Primarily young professionals is the target demographic, but with that we know that young professionals tend to have kids, you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So that was something that we built in,
Mhm.
later on down the line. Even my friends were like, yo, I got a little kid, can I
Mhm.
bring them? What's the ticket price? And I'm like, oh, let's have discount prices for kids, let's have
Right.
discount prices for the students,
Mhm.
HBCU students. And then if we're having it on your campus, y'all are free, like
Right.
Okay.
that's the deal.
Yep.
So that essentially is kind of like adding those incentives for them. But even with those incentives, our target tends to be that young professional. So
Right.
most of our panels and most of our content is geared towards like college and young professional. But we do have like things that, high school kids would enjoy.
Mhm.
Mhm.
We had a panel that was for 40 and over, I think it was.
Mhm.
So we have a lot of different like content, and the kids love the gaming pieces, and
Yeah.
the
Mhm.
gaming panels. Like they love the fact that they can go to the tournament. Like they really on
Mhm.
that. So
Yeah. Because
and the
that's what my
tabletop
disappeared to.
elements too. That they love the
Okay.
band. They just love visual stuff. They love the
Right.
cosplayers and all that. So yeah, I think I would definitely consider it a family friendly event. Like we had, I think maybe one or two after dark panels, if you will, but we
Okay.
had them like at the end of the show, and they
Right.
were in a contained area, so it's like that's, and then it had indication like, hey, this is the 18 and over panel, so that folks were aware.
How does one get on a panel? Like
You
if I
just
want to
go.
be a if I just want to be a part of a conversation topic, how do I
Aw,
do that?
Well,
well,
now there's two. I'm going to answer this in two different ways.
yeah.
I'm going to answer it the way you asked it, and then I'm going to answer it as if you actually want to do your own panel. Because the way
Mm-hmm.
you asked it, you want to sit in the crowd and participate in that sense. That's doable. We actually applaud that and want that to happen with anybody who attends any of the con events, any of the panels. We want
Mm-hmm.
people to actually participate in the panel itself. So if you're actually sitting in the crowd or sitting in the panel as a viewer, we want you to ask questions. We want you to comment, as long as it's not anything derogatory or anything like that.
Right,
Away,
disrespectful.
yeah. But now, if you want to host your own panel, our applications will be going up the beginning of next month,
Okay.
so that you can submit for your own panel, and we'll go ahead and let you know if it's something that's approved or not, or if you have to tweak something because of either our regulations or the school's regulations.
Right.
We actually had a few panels where they had to tweak the verbiage just a little bit because the topic wasn't a bad topic. It's just the way they described it.
Hmm.
We couldn't print that and put
Right.
it on a college campus and say, hey, this is what they're talking about, but this is what they mean.
Right.
We had to actually tell them, hey, define what you actually mean, so that when we put this out there, they know exactly what it is versus making assumptions.
Right.
Do
Rich,
you,
are
do
you
you
trying to
guys
do a
have
panel?
well, hold on.
Are you
Let's
coming
not get ahead of
back?
ourselves. Hold on. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Ah!
Do you guys have pre-planned topics already where you say like, hey, we have a list of topics that we already want people to talk about now. We just need people to host these panels.
Um,
Only for our signature panels.
yeah, that's really like we have
Yeah,
our signature
right.
panels that we do. Go
We
ahead,
used
Wanda.
to
I'm
have
sorry.
we used to have 4 signature panels. I think we have 7 now.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh
So
my
yeah,
gosh.
outside of those 7, everything else
Okay.
is whatever comes to your mind.
Right. I mean,
Okay.
as long as it fits within the,
Right.
the mission statement. So like I would encourage you to go to the About Us page where you can check out like the mission statement, the story, even the elements that I was just telling you about, like the
Mhm.
yard and all that stuff is in there.
Right.
And also even if you check out our Kickstarter page, that has even a more detailed, and we're gonna work on integrating some of that because it has more detailed elements of like our origin story, if you will. um,
Okay.
but yeah, and then I think our video is still up there
Yeah, the
too.
video's still up. Yeah.
So yeah, feel free to like check that stuff out. Also, if you go on our Facebook page or our YouTube channel, we have like a slew of panels that not only that we like our signature
Mhm.
panels that we've done, but also like the virtual
Yeah.
event from 2021. That entire it's like 35 panels, I
30,
think.
yeah, it was
It's up
35
there.
panels for 2021. Love
Everything
it.
from like cosplaying in Japan, where this woman
You-
literally did her
yeah,
panel from Japan. She's a cosplayer. Like,
Oh
these are
wow.
the
yeah,
rules in Japan and what you can
Wow.
and cannot do when cosplay, because it's actually really strict whole
Oh
time.
yeah,
yes.
yeah. I lived in Japan for 3 years. It was
Mm-hmm.
definitely something
Hmm.
that you have to be very, very careful
Hmm.
what you
Mm-hmm.
cosplay
Mm-hmm.
in Japan.
Yeah.
Uh,
So
in particular to the weapons that you choose. So like if I want
right.
to go as Asta, like you pretty much have to have like a paper mache because anything that's harder than that, Japan will confiscate it, and
Yeah,
good
Mm-hmm.
luck getting that back.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so just a lot of cool, workshops. We have hip hop is a real popular subject, like anime and hip hop, I think was one that
Hmm.
we had. Behind the controller is one of our signature panels where David Hooker, who I just mentioned, and actually he's got a gaming background as well and goes to E3 and all those different conventions. And his wife, who actually went to school with me as well, Natasha Lee Hooker, she works at Insomniac. She's a developer there. She's worked on, prior to working at Insomniac, she had worked on Titanfall 2. She worked on Spider-Man 4 and also the Miles Morales game, where she did much of the Black Lives Matter artwork that is on
Oh,
that
okay.
game. So
Nice.
so they do that panel. What else we got? We recently did the art of storytelling.
Hmm.
So that's like a
And
new
then
track
Shaolin,
thing. Mm-hmm.
and then
A
we
different
do
world is our
right.
signature. That's
Hmm.
my favorite. That's my baby.
Mm.
So that's of course the one for HBCU folks who are nerds.
Yeah,
Right.
and
Mm-hmm.
that panel usually we have HBCU alum or current students actually even
Mm-hmm.
who
Mm-hmm.
will bless everyone's ears with their experiences.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes
They're bad and
faculty.
ugly. Yeah. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
faculty. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
then
most
we
of the
also
time the faculty or alumni,
right,
like they went to a
Right.
HBCU. So
right. And then we
Okay.
also have
Sure.
we
mm-hmm.
have our military panel, which was new for this year,
Mm-hmm.
and then which was pretty good. We could have
And
went to
that
it.
had HBCU and non, because
Yeah.
it was
It
you
was
and Love
me,
Paper Doll.
me and Love Paper Doll as alum, and then Navy Montel was not.
Well, she's not a HBCU alum. She's Army vet,
She's
but
on me.
not a
That's what I'm thinking.
HBCU.
You know what? I'm thinking back to
You're thinking about Venture Bros, who's a
yeah, I'm thinking
HBCU
because he was
alum.
supposed to be there, but
Yeah, but
he
he
was being sick.
got sick. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm,
the picture.
okay.
So yeah, but we had what
And
else?
then we had Super Slay.
Yeah,
I
Super
just need you guys
Slay.
to like convince Dre and Rich to come back to Maryland. That's all. They
That's
came here for BlurCon. That was our first time meeting each other because we're all in different states. So
So
BlurCon
where are
was our
you
first time
yeah.
now?
Where you
meeting.
guys coming from?
So
Oh, well, you
I'm
said
in.
Ohio. So
Yeah, I'm currently in Ohio. I'm from Houston.
okay,
I'm just up in Ohio because I own stores out here, so I'm just up here making sure that they're okay. But typically, I'm back in Houston.
okay,
But that's where I'm from.
okay. What about you, Dre?
From Pittsburgh. I don't
Oh,
need
you're not even that
city.
far.
Man, you 6 hours away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
You
don't need
know,
convincing to leave this city. I just wanted the money for it.
You can actually. Oh, that's fair. That's fair.
yeah,
We just want it to be worth your time.
Nah,
yeah.
I don't mind traveling back and forth for cons. At least I don't mind traveling back and forth. Maryland was okay outside the fact that it didn't have any homeless people. It's
You
pretty
keep
fun.
saying
Oh,
that, but there was literally
That's a
someone
lie.
sitting
Yeah, that's a
outside
yeah.
of
lie.
McDonald's
Yeah.
sleep. Like, what you
Right.
mean? What do you
Didn't have any
mean?
homeless
We were
people.
in Virginia though, so there's
Maryland,
that.
Virginia, y'all don't know who y'all are. Y'all don't know what y'all want to be.
No, there's
We were in
Anyway,
Ohio.
Nah, yeah.
well, there's definitely a
Crystal
distinction
City,
between
Crystal
Maryland and
City's a
Virginia.
yeah, and then again, Crystal City's a whole nother world in its own.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Crystal City is
you,
like
yeah,
Pleasantville, but
yeah.
like
You go,
more
you go,
urban.
you go about
You
three
know what I'm
miles
saying?
south down Route 1. The whole environment changes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, no, I plan on being at HBCU Con. I definitely plan on
yeah.
going back to BlurCon for sure. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, as
so
soon as I saw your table at BlurCon, because that's okay. So the way we found BlurCon was at AwesomeCon, and
Okay.
prior to meeting my husband, I was like, I'm not a nerd. I was in denial. That's really what it is. So, for his birthday, I got him tickets to AwesomeCon, and I was like, I'm not gonna go. Just go with one of your friends. I got him 2 tickets. So one of the days I was off work, I went with him, and I immediately fell in love. And then I saw BlurCon. I was like, it's this with black people. That's fucking awesome. So I
hmm
was like, we're going to that. So we went to that. in 2019. And then this year we didn't go. Obviously, there wasn't one in 2020, 2020, 21, blah, 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 blah. 21, we didn't go. This year we went, and that's when I saw the HBCU Con. And immediately, like with Rich and Dre, like I took a picture of the flyer, I sent it to them. I
Yeah.
was like, this is the next event we need to be at.
Yeah.
So I was very excited to see that. I'm,
Yeah.
as a HBCU grad, I feel like no matter how much shit you go through at that
Mm.
school, because that school is going to put you through something.
Yeah.
Like, like you're going to go through
Yeah.
some shit.
This story,
That's
this
just the truth. But there's just so much pride that comes along with it, the
Mhm.
experience, the people you meet, like where
Yeah.
it puts you in life. Because my mom always taught me it's not always what you know, it's who you know. And
Absolutely.
you meet all these
Absolutely.
incredible people who then go out into the world and like
Mhm.
create, businesses
Yep.
and
Mhm.
whatever else they do, and you can reconnect with those people.
Mhm.
And for whatever you need, if you need a job, if you just need,
Right.
whatever. And
Right.
that experience has shaped me tremendously. My sister went to a PWI.
Mhm.
She's a lawyer in Michigan, but she went to an undergrad. She went to Bowling Green in Ohio,
Mhm.
and for grad school, she was in Lansing, in
Okay.
Michigan. And our experiences and lives have been so different from just the moment we parted and left the house. We've
Mhm.
had completely different experiences. So
Mhm.
Mhm.
I love it. I love the idea. I love that you guys are doing it. Like you guys said, it's something that the community needs. My question would be, has the community embraced you, and what can we do to help you get to where you want to be?
You're already doing it.
Yeah.
You're literally
Yeah.
doing it right
That's
now.
yeah.
Yeah.
You're
Because
already
you,
doing the
yeah,
first
because
one.
you reached out to us and said,
Yeah.
hey, we like to have you on.
Right.
And having folks actually listen to us is one of the biggest things that helps us.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Because a lot of folks, after even though we did some publicity stuff and some other podcasts and stuff prior to, a lot of people still said after the fact that they didn't know that you know we existed. I'm like, well, I was just hanging out with you at this con and that con.
Right.
Right.
You told me handing out cards at this con and that con and this con, and talking about, yeah, I got to go back home because I've got HBCU Con work to do. So how did you not know about the con? So pretty much, doing podcasts like this and us getting the word out. That's pretty much all what we really need, because getting in folks' ears is the biggest thing. And then once they see it, they're like, okay, yeah, I think I need to be there next time if they miss it, or if they see enough of it beforehand, they're like, okay, yo, I'm not gonna miss this.
Mhm.
Which I've had people say, and I'm like, okay, cool, we'll see you there.
Yeah. Overall, the community has been very embracing. I must say, I've been um like it's honestly been humbling, and it just floors me sometimes with the reception and how people just get it like right
Mhm.
away. And it's like the people who need to get it most are the ones who get it. And that's like what really matters. And just to see their enthusiasm and the way their eyes light up, or like just little things like that, like it bring like I fight tears, quite frankly. um and it hasn't been without its challenges. Like this is literally a labor of love. Like I don't have a lot of money, like I'm not poor, but I'm not rich. I would like to be, just so I could, just because capitalism is the world we're living in, and that's,
Right.
it's convenient. But like outside of that, like this is really like we put our blood, sweat, and tears into this. And it's been trying, like even for me, like quite frankly, as a Black woman, like, and I'm young, I'm under a certain age. So having, a vice president who is a man and who is, of a certain age, has enabled me levels of access that I normally wouldn't get other places, to the point that people assume that, we co-founded it or nothing. And that's not, but it's like that's kind of like the I'm navigating a male dominated industry. And I've experienced everything from people like, thinking I'm a booth babe at my own booth, to
Right.
to
Like, I'm like, nah,
you
come
know,
on.
to people trying to extort me for sex. So like just
Yeah.
for you know, for money, or like just crazy stuff. So it's definitely been like a journey. Just and entrepreneurship has been like a pledge. Like I have
Mhm.
not, never have I been tested like
This shit is rough.
emotionally,
Right.
mentally,
Right.
in the
This
way
shit
that I
is rough.
have, like running. And I think being a part of me being so much a part of the cosplay community on top of that adds, like, it's a gift and a curse, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm very heavily embedded. I know a lot of people, like a lot of these people are my friends, you know, like they're like, oh, you know, so and so. Like, yeah, that's the homie, you
Yeah.
know. But then at the same time, it also comes with like certain pitfalls. And you know, you don't have the luxury of really like being human a lot of times, because people just see you as more or less a figurehead. So
Right.
you know, I definitely feel the pressure, let's put it that way, and especially with the HBCU name, like I understand what that means.
Mhm.
And I also understand that dealing with the HBCU community means that I'm going to deal with a lot of like, ooh, where'd she go?
Son probably have to wear a phone.
I ain't want to just be like, just keep talking like she ain't go nowhere. But you know,
Uh,
the HBCU community, you're dealing with a lot of respectability politics.
Right.
So, and that doesn't always translate to the cosplay community and vice versa, for reasons that are very obvious to us. So yeah, it's been walking a tightrope for sure.
Yeah. But
okay.
For sure.
the bigger thing for us winds up being melding those two together though,
Hmm.
because I know my first trip back up to Coppin State earlier this year, they were like, okay, what's this? Because I was carrying the the save the date flyers with me, and this is the day of the con. Can I leave these here in the bookstore type deal? And they were like,
Mhm.
okay, yeah, but what is that? I'm like, yeah, you guys know what Comic Cons are, right? They're like, yeah, well, this one's based on HBCUs, blah blah blah. By the third time I went up there, other than the fact that I was still spending money, but they were like, so the con is this coming? Yeah, I was like, yeah, the con is coming up in like 2 weeks. If y'all can make it down, I know it's a little bit of a trek from Baltimore if you're not driving or whatever, but make it down. Come hang out for the weekend. Come hang out for the day even, and see what it's about. Because I'll be back once school kicks back up. To
Okay.
I want to be sitting up. I want to sit in the president's office and be like, look, I need
Okay.
Coppin's involvement.
Oh, she's back. You're back. Okay. But to kind of wrap this thing up, we want to thank you guys for having us, for
Mhm.
joining us tonight. But if you
I
could
was gonna say,
give
you had us.
if you could give someone advice who wanted to start their own con, what would it be?
Ooh. You need to figure out, one, what problem are you trying to solve?
Yep.
What problem are you trying to solve? Number one. Two, what separates your con from the rest? You know, what makes your con special?
Mhm.
Three, how are you gonna pay for it?
Yep.
You know, and I mean, it's not to be like condescending or anything, but it's like these are things that
It's
you
real.
really got to
Yeah.
think about.
It's just like any other business.
Yeah, for real. And once you think about those three questions and you kind of like navigate those things, the things that I say you should have, like you really want to like worth investing in if you can get it, an accountant, a lawyer, and a publicist. You want
Mhm.
those three things.
Yep.
Especially the publicist. Lord have mercy.
Yep.
You need, and you better listen to them too.
Yep.
You
Yep.
know, not saying be a slave to your publicist, but you know, like take their advice
Right.
seriously.
They know what they're talking about.
Right.
Exactly. Like like listen, let your people do their jobs. You know, like let
Right.
the experts be the experts.
Right.
You know,
But
that's really a big thing that will
yeah,
save you a lot of heartache.
it comes down to this though. You want to needing two teams. You need that first team, the lawyer, the CPA, and the publicist. But
Mhm.
then you actually need the team that's going to do all the heavy lifting for the con
The
itself.
programs, yep.
Right, and they
And the
have to be
logistics.
consistent, and they also have to be dependable. They can't
Mhm.
they can't be those who drop because, oh, I got a new boyfriend or new girlfriend,
Mhm.
Right.
or my wife is doing A, B, and C, so I got to stop doing this because of that type of deal.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And or hell, like my wife is gone for the week because she's at Boulay. I can't sit there as vice president. I can't sit there and say, well, I can't do any HBCU Con stuff until she gets home. I gotta
Right.
keep pushing through because we've got work to do. So we need people. You need people who have that same mindset that you have, that they want to see this through and make sure that come April 28th of 2023, the con is exactly where it needs to be, so that when that day comes, people can go ahead and get set up.
Mm-hmm.
The panels can run, the early events can run the way they're supposed to, and then you can sit back and just put out little fires instead of major ones.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because otherwise
Okay.
you're gonna run around with your head chopped off like a chicken.
Yeah, or worse, wind up getting dragged on the internet or on the news, or like
That
that's
too.
what you don't want. Like you
That
don't
too.
want
Oh
to
yeah.
have
Yeah. You don't
no
want that.
Yeah.
scandals, no controversies,
Yeah.
no, like that's what you want. You want people to have good things to say
Yeah.
about your event and their experiences.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then
We
one
can't hear
last
you.
piece that you definitely want to have is the knowledge and the ability to say, you know what, I need a break.
That too.
Whether it be a day or two, hey team, I need a break just to get my mental back in order. So can you guys handle what needs to be handled while I take a couple of
Right.
days off so I can refresh myself.
Right. Or if
And
something
then step back.
happens, like life happens, you know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
we've
And
had people who got sick or, lost a loved one or, you
Mhm.
know what I mean? And we understand that. Like
Right.
it's just
Or
life.
most recently had babies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like real recently.
Mm-hmm.
And they're still chugging along too. I'm like, yo, I appreciate
Got to keep it pushing.
right.
They really do, like literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
I'm like, yo, he's literally still in the meetings and
And active duty, like
active duty military
yeah.
in every meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Kid on the way. Well, not kid here now, and he's in
Yeah.
every meeting.
Yeah.
And already had like 4 kids before that.
Yo.
So like, how are you even here, dude? Like, all right, I'm not complaining, but how?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
So HBCU Con is, you said April 28th through
May, I'm sorry, I'm about to say, because of this year, it was April 29th through May 1st. But
Yeah.
next year, it is April 28th through April 30th because there's 30 days in April.
Yeah.
That's
There
just
are.
where I'm sticking to it.
Awesome. And I already dropped the website, but are there
Mhm.
any other socials or any other place that you would like people to come find you?
We can be found pretty much anywhere as HBCU Con.
Okay.
Linktree. I'm
Right.
sorry. Yeah, we have a Linktree. We have a Twitch official HBCU Con, YouTube official
Just
HBCU Con. Everything else is pretty much at HBCU Con. HBCUcon.org is our website.
We have a Redbubble site where we we have a bookstore.
Yes,
on
if you go to
Redbubble.
Linktree.
So if you go to our Linktree, you'll see the link for bookstore. You can go in there and buy some goodies.
I love that.
We'll have some goodies with us at the con this week. Actually, at the con this weekend.
Where are
And
you guys going to be this weekend?
we're going to be at T-Con and
so
also
bad I
at the
forget
Black
that.
Greek
Nice.
Black Greek Festival in DC. Both events
Okay.
will be in DC, except two different sides of DC, I think. Because I'll be at the convention center with T-Con and CC. Where's Black Greek?
Black Greek Fest is at the Gateway DC on Martin Luther King.
Yeah, so yeah.
And then
Literally two different
they're
sides
having
of DC.
the brunch Olympics on Sunday at the Bullpen DC. I don't really know what to expect. I've seen the TikTok videos, and there was a woman rather, in some white brunch boots, and she was running on the track. So I'm like, is this really about to be like some because that would be hilarious.
That's hilarious.
But I don't know what to expect, but shout out to Black Greek Fest, shout out to Chelsea and Kwame. Chelsea's a Delta, Kwame's an Alpha, so shout out to them.
I thought that was all about food.
That too, food trucks. I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. So we will be back on Saturday for our Shit Talk Saturday, and next week is Jesus. I'm over here like looking for my calendar.
Don't
I'm all the way in
forget that.
April. What's next week,
Don't
guys?
forget.
Come on, Dre.
Second part of our
We're
LGBT.
doing Black Fae Day. We're gonna be interviewing the people from Black Fae Day and
That's what's
talking
up.
to them on Tuesday. So that's super exciting. So until then, guys, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay unapologetically Black. Have a great
Oh,
night.
you too. Thanks, y'all.
Good night, y'all.